I inspired you.
Okay, couple videos I want you to watch, and then I'll show you some fossils. Listen.
Eras, periods, and epochs are shown on a geologic timescale that begins with the formation of the Earth 4.6 billion years ago. Eras and periods are defined by geological events, such as layering of rocks or when chemicals, such as oxygen, appeared. There have been 4 different occurrences of mass extinctions since Earth first formed. The Precambrian era began with the formation of Earth. The oldest prokaryotic and eukaryotic fossils came from this time. It is when multicellular and soft-bodied organisms appeared and invertebrates and algae diversified. The Paleozoic Era has 6 distinct periods, and mass extinctions occurred during 2 of them. Land plants, insects, and vertebrate animals first appeared, but corals and other invertebrates dominated. Forests of ferns and gymnosperms were common. The Mesozoic Era is characterized by the appearance of the dinosaurs. The first mammals, birds, and flowering plants appear during this time period as well. The Cenozoic Era is characterized by an increasing number of plant and animal species. Monkeys, apes, hominins, and finally humans appear.
Is that our whole essay?
That's part. Yeah, if you wrote all those words, you'd have close to.
Hey, bro, I have a question.
Right? Yes.
On that chart thing, on the left, I don't know if you have one near you. Well, on the left, it says like each like time period. Why is it like squiggle? Does that mean anything? Or
Why is it what?
It's like curved line. Why is it like that? Just cause? Does it like represent anything?
Hold on, let me see what you're
Eras.
On the left, it's like a
Here?
yeah. It's like curved.
Oh, no, I don't know why they did that.
So all we had to do for our essay is name them in order and the species that were formed and how long they were.
Yeah, name the 4 in order, what went on in each of those times. You can name some organisms that came around in each of those times. Remember, it's got to be 250 words, which is about 70 words per
We can do that.
per time period, per era.
How did this suck by the time we started?
Different major events that happened, like when all the dinosaurs went away, they said that's the end of the Mesozoic. It's a good stopping point. It's just something that geologists and biologists have agreed upon. Here is the Cambrian Explosion. Was a time period when you had a whole bunch of organisms, bunch of multicellular organisms appear, and we know from fossils that this is how they looked, and this is kind of a neat thing showing that.
Bro, hasn't Congress been around for a while?
Listen.
A dazzling array of new species appeared about 500 to 600 million years ago. All of today's animals are descended from the sea creatures of this era.
The big swimming tongue.
Yeah.
Those were the multicellular creatures at the beginning of the Paleozoic, which is called the Cambrian period. The Paleozoic consists of 6 time periods, and the first one's called the Cambrian, and that's why this is called Precambrian. The Precambrian is before the Cambrian. The Cambrian, you had a huge explosion of multicellular life forms.
I have a question.
And that's why they cut off and started the Paleozoic there, because there's a whole bunch of different life forms that you don't see in the Cambrian. Yes?
How did the armor fish become extinct?
Good question.
Kill it.
I don't know.
You kill an armored fish.
I don't know how we
Anti-armored.
One thing that happens during mass extinctions, listen, one thing that we always see during a mass extinction, whenever there's a bunch of debris that blocks light, it destroys the bottom of the food chain, the algae that create food for everything else. And anything that needs a lot to eat ends up dying. And so that could have been what killed the armored fish, is they don't have enough food. And so tiny organisms that don't need much food end up surviving. Large organisms that have to eat a lot end up dying out. And the armored fish we know were big, so that may have been what killed them. I'm just guessing. Yeah.
How long? Do you know how long the cockroach has been around? 'Cause I heard somebody say it was like one of the oldest things.
The what?
The cockroach.
Insects started about the time of organisms coming onto land. So we're talking about 500 million years ago.
I heard cars.
Nobody really cares what you heard.
Let's see if this Mesozoic Era video works.
Told you it was conservative.
That's someone. You said no one.
Hardly anyone.
Perhaps no animals captivate our imagination more than the dinosaurs. Nothing today seems as fearsome as the Tyrannosaurus rex. Taller than a two-story house, it had massive jaws and teeth that could easily rip the flesh of its prey. In contrast, the Corythosaurus, a duck-billed dinosaur, fed only on plants. Not all dinosaurs were large. The carnivorous Troodon was no bigger than a human, and other dinosaurs were even smaller. There were many kinds of dinosaurs, but it was only relatively recently that we became aware that such creatures even existed.
The word dinosaur was coined less than 200 years ago, and many of the most important discoveries of dinosaur fossils have been made in only the last 100 years. This old film shows paleontologists removing dinosaur fossils from the rocky ground in a remote area of Alberta, Canada. Paleontology is the science of studying prehistoric life. Much of what we know today about dinosaurs is due to the pioneering work of such early paleontologists, who were sent by museums to search for and collect fossils. After transporting the fossils of dinosaurs back to their museums, the scientists often spent many months piecing together the bones, like pieces of a three-dimensional puzzle. The reconstructed skeletons were then put on display. People flocked to museums to marvel at these remains of animals that lived many millions of years ago.
Huh. Interesting. If this one works. Mesozoic Era.
What is the Mesozoic Era? The Mesozoic Era begins approximately 245 million years ago and ended
Cross-country runners need to meet and catch Morgan in the gym to catch Morgan during break today. Thank you.
Cross country in the gym during break.
approximately 65 million years ago. The Mesozoic is divided into three periods: the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous.
No, you don't have to know that.
What happened during the Triassic period? The Triassic period started approximately 245 million years ago and ended approximately 208 million years ago as it begins the Mesozoic Era. By the mid-Triassic, Pangaea began to fracture, forming mountains on the west coast of North America that extended from Alaska to Chile. Continents were of much higher elevation than sea level, and there were no shallow seas. Volcanoes spewed out great lava flows. The climate was influenced largely by tectonic events. Most of the Earth experienced arid and dry climate conditions. New animal life forms, such as the first dinosaurs, began to appear. The bipedal stance of the Coelophysis, pictured here, was characteristic of the early dinosaurs. From these early bipedal dinosaurs emerged the hundreds of different species of dinosaurs that are